Welcome to the Alberta College of Occupational Therapists online Continuing Competence Program tutorial. To access your Continuing Competence Program, you will need to go to the ACOT website at www.acot.ca. Once on the ACOT homepage, simply press the Member Login link at the top right-hand corner of the page. Once you are on the Member Login page, you will need to sign in with your username and password. Your username will be your registration number. For the purpose of the tutorial, I will be logging in with a fictional OT account. If you cannot remember your password, click the Forgot Your Password link at the bottom of the page. If you are still having problems logging in after resetting your password, please contact the college for assistance. Once logged in, you will be brought to the main page for your member section. The first stage of the Continuing Competence Program is your self-assessment, and to access it, you will click the Self-Assessment button. Your self-assessment should be completed at the beginning of each registration year. The ACOT registration year begins on March 1st of each year. Although the college recommends completing the self-assessment at the beginning of the registration year, the program can be completed at any time prior to renewal. You will not be able to renew your registration for the next year until you have completed all components of the Continuing Competence Program from the current year. If this is your first time logging into the self-assessment for the current year, you will need to create your self-assessment by clicking the Create SAT button. In this tutorial, I have already created my SAT, so I can simply select the View and Edit to make any changes to the assessment. You can make changes to your Continuing Competence Program at any time during the year until you renew. The renewal process submits your program and locks it from being edited afterwards. The first page of the self-assessment is the introduction. This gives you a brief overview of the self-assessment and also reminds you that the Continuing Competence Program is mandatory for every occupational therapist in Alberta as per the Health Professions Act. Once you've read through this, you can simply press the Continue button. The self-assessment is based off of the 9 standards in the Standards of Practice. These standards are what all occupational therapists in Alberta must achieve in order to be registered. As you read through each standard, reflect on your practice and select any item that you want to improve on in the upcoming year. These practice challenges will later be used to create your learning goals. Please note that the college expects each standard to be met by all occupational therapists in Alberta, and selecting an item as a practice challenge does not mean you are not meeting the standard. It simply means that you are continuing to improve in that area. There is also a section provided to input any comments or reflective thoughts you may have while reading through the standards. You will repeat the self-assessment process for all 9 standards. To move to the next standard, simply press the Next button. Reflecting on Standard 9 is the last step in your self-assessment. When you press Next, you will be taken to your practice challenge log. Your practice challenge log outlines each practice challenge you have selected during your self-assessment. You will then be able to identify whether each practice challenge is a learning goal for your action plan for this year or for the future. You must have at least one of your practice challenges identified for this year in order to complete the rest of the Continuing Competence Program. Clicking the Next button at the bottom of the Practice Challenge log page will bring you to the completion page for the self-assessment section of the Continuing Competence Program. Here you will find a link that will take you to the next section of the program to complete your action plan. There is also a print button if you would like to print a copy of your self-assessment for your own records. The ACOT system will keep your Continuing Competence Program files for 5 years in your member profile. Before moving on to the action plan, I would like to remind anyone completing the Continuing Competence Program during renewal time that you are reporting back to the college on what you have already done in the current year. You are not completing your self-assessment or creating goals for the future. Next, we are going to move on to the tutorial for the action plan. In order to do that, you can just select this link and it will bring you directly to the action plan page on your profile. Now, if you've done the self-assessment and are coming back to do your action plan, all you need to do is go to the very top bar, select View Your Profile, and scroll down to the very bottom. It will be under Continuing Competence Program Action Plans. Once in your action plan section, you will be able to see your practice challenges from the self-assessment. If this section is blank, please go back and select a practice challenge in your self-assessment to continue. These practice challenges will be used to create your learning goals. To create your learning goals in your action plan, simply press the green Add button, and a box will come up so that you can input your goal as well as your learning activities, progress updates, and reflection. So when you first get into your action plan, you're going to see a message in red. This signifies that there's only 20 minutes for you to be able to complete this action plan for security purposes. You are able to save partway through and continue on afterwards. However, if you feel that you're not going to remember the 20-minute time limit or you're worried about it, I would recommend opening a Word document, completing it in the Word document, and then copying and pasting it back into your continuing competence program. You will now be creating your learning goal. All learning goals must be based off of a practice challenge from your self-assessment. You simply need to select the down arrow and all of your practice challenges selected for this year will appear. For the purpose of the tutorial, I will select Practice Challenge 1.4, which is actually Standard 1.4 from the Standards of Practice. The window does not have the capacity to show the entire standard, so if you cannot remember the standard in its entirety, please access the Standards of Practice document on the ACOT website. You are now able to create your personal goal related to that practice challenge. Please remember that you are developing this goal to increase your competence and improve your practice, so it should be meaningful and specific to your practice. Your goal does not have to be a direct word-for-word reflection of your practice challenge, but it does need to be related to the practice challenge. I have just put in a goal, which is to acquire sufficient knowledge and skills to confidently assign tasks to therapist assistants, and now I am ready to choose my learning activities. You can now choose up to 3 learning activities you plan on completing to achieve the goal you have created for yourself. There is a list of activities to choose from. However, if the activity you wish to take on is not in the list, you can select the other option. If you do choose other as your learning activity, you will have to provide a description of that activity in the box below. This space can also be used for you to brainstorm the specifics of the learning activities you are planning to complete. You are now able to save your content so that you can complete your learning activities. If you have already completed your learning activities that you selected, you can continue filling out the rest of the components in this dialog box. I am going to save what I have already done by clicking on the Save button at the bottom. Now that I have completed my learning activities, I'm going to go back and complete my continuing competence program by clicking on the Edit button. I'm going to go down to the section labeled Updates Regarding Progress and report on the actual activities I've taken on. I have now reported back on my progress with the following examples, one of which is, on August 30th, 2017, I read the guidelines for the assignment and delegation of occupational therapy services to support personnel on the ACOT website. I must ensure that support personnel are qualified to perform the task delegated to them and that the needed amount of supervision is available. Your progress updates do not need to be in this format that I used. It is simply an example. Use any format that works best for you. Reporting on your progress and the work you have done to complete your goal is what is important, not the format in which you do it in. The last step in completing your action plan is the reflection. This section is not to be completed until you have either achieved your goal or you are submitting your continuing competence program prior to renewal. Learning activities must be taken on each year. However, you are able to use the same goal more than 1 year in a row if you feel you have not quite achieved it in 1 year. Your reflection does not need to follow any particular script, but you are provided with some questions to ask yourself while you reflect. What were you hoping to learn from the activities you completed? Did you learn from the activities? How have your learning activities impacted your practice? What was the importance of completing these activities for your professional practice and development? If you feel that you still have work to do before completing this goal, the reflection is a good place to decide how you plan on continuing your learning in the future. Your reflection can be up to 3,000 characters long. I have now completed all components of my first goal in the action plan, including the reflection. All components of your goal must be completed in order to submit your continuing competence program and be able to renew your registration. You can use this process to input up to 3 goals, with 1 goal being the minimum requirement of the college prior to renewal. This concludes the Alberta College of Occupational Therapists online continuing competence program tutorial. I hope this has increased your confidence in completing the program. However, if you still have any questions, please feel free to contact the college's registration coordinator for assistance by calling 780-436-8381 extension 101 or by emailing info@acot.ca.